تقتدي وتعتمد
لترشيح لعماد ميشيل عون.
المعارضة السورية هي بتحدد من يمثلها.
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Yumna Nawfal, and these are today's top stories. Prime Minister Tamam Salam expresses his satisfaction along with David Cameron with the results of the donors' conference on Syria, revealing, however, he has not yet been informed of Lebanon's share of the donations. The consultative gathering bloc urges Lebanon's lawmakers to attend the parliament session next week aimed at ending the vacuum at the presidential post. And Democrat Hillary Clinton goes on to attack against rival Bernie Sanders in their most contentious presidential debate yet. Prime Minister Tamam Salam is expressing his satisfaction with the results of the donors' conference on Syria, revealing, however, that he has not yet been informed of Lebanon's share of the donations for Syrian refugees. This comes after members attending the Supporting Syria and the Region conference promised to provide financial assistance up to 10 to 11 billion US dollars to Syrian and neighboring countries. The conference was hosted by the UK, Kuwait, Germany, Norway, and the UN. And the aim was to raise billions of dollars of money to alleviate the Syrian refugee problem, the most serious humanitarian crisis in the world, with a discussion around measures to improve the education situation, employment, economic development of Syria and neighboring countries as well.
Today's conference has seen the largest amount of money ever raised in one day in response to a humanitarian crisis, with well over $10 billion pledged.
Poverty, misery, disease have swelled and indiscriminately plagued the Lebanese and the 1.5 million Syrians that now constitute almost a third of the local population, grafted as they are on a limited pool of national resources and services that were largely insufficient for Lebanon's own inhabitants.
The consultative gathering bloc is urging Lebanon's lawmakers to attend the parliament session next week aimed at ending the vacuum at the presidential post and reiterating the rejection to conditions set during the donors' conference on Syria that Lebanon opened its labor markets for the refugees in return for assistance. The meeting was held at the residence of the heads gathering former President Michel Sleiman in the presence of Defense Minister Samir Mukbil, Telecommunications Minister Boutros Harb, Tourism Minister Michel Faraon, Minister of Displaced Alice Shabtini, Sports and Youth Minister Abdel Muttalib Hinawi, Economy Minister Alain Hakim, as well as Qatar Party Leader MP Sami Shmail. On the donors' conference on Syria held in London a day earlier, the statement read that the bloc hails the donors' conference and is interested to confirm that it rejects conditions being set for providing Lebanon with assistance in return for opening the labor free market for the Syrian refugees. Morada movement leader MP Sulaiman Fangiye is expressing optimism over the political circumstances in Lebanon, emphasizing solidarity among the March 8 allies despite differences over the presidential race. The presidency, he said, is merely a phase. We have no dispute with our allies. And this was, of course, said at a dinner banquet, according to a statement issued by his office today. Two leaders belonging to the March 8 coalition, Fangiye and the head of the Change and Reform Bloc, MP Michel Aoun, are the main front-runners for the presidential post. Fangiye is backed by rival Future Movement leader Saad Hariri, and Aoun is backed by Hezbollah and his wartime rival and leader of the Lebanese forces, Samir Jaja. Fangiye recently said that he had no plans to withdraw from the race in favor of Aoun. The statement released added that Fangiye underlined the political agreements and circumstances are what led to the election of a new head of state. U.S. President Barack Obama is saying that faith can help overcome fear, attending the National Prayer Breakfast at the Washington Hilton. Speaking during his last prayer breakfast event in the capacity of the U.S. President, Obama took the opportunity to call for unity and said he prayed for his failings to be forgiven. Members of U.S. Congress, including Paul Ryan, Republican Speaker of U.S. House of Representatives, the U.S. House Democratic Leader Nancy Pelosi, and various celebrities took part in the praying event. Every U.S. president has attended the annual prayer breakfast since 1953.
The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. And certainly there are times where I've had to repeat that to myself while holding this office. When you hear from a parade of experts just days after you're elected that another Great Depression is a very real possibility, that will get your attention. When you tell a room full of young cadets that you've made a decision to send them into harm's way, knowing that some of them might not return safely, that's sobering. When you hold in your arms the mothers and fathers of innocent children gunned down in their classroom, that reminds you there's evil in the world. And so you come to understand what President Lincoln meant when he said that he'd been driven to his knees by the overwhelming conviction that he had no place else to go. And so like every president, like every leader, like every person, I've known fear. But my faith tells me that I need not fear death, that the acceptance of Christ promises everlasting life and the washing away of sins. I pray that our leaders will always act with humility and generosity. I pray that my failings are forgiven. I pray that we will uphold our obligation to be good stewards of God's creation, this beautiful planet. I pray that we will see every single child as our own, each worthy of our love and of our compassion. And I pray we answer Scripture's call to lift up the vulnerable and to stand up for justice and ensure that every human being lives in dignity. That's my prayer for this breakfast and for this country in the years to come. May God bless you, and may He continue to bless this country that we love.
Coming up next, Florida Governor Rick Scott expands a public health emergency over the travel-related cases of the Zika virus. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching the 1620 o'clock news here on Future Television. Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton went on the attack against rival Bernie Sanders in their most contentious presidential debate yet, questioning whether his ambitious proposals were viable and saying it was unfair to question her liberal credentials. Sanders fought back repeatedly, accusing Clinton of representing the political establishment during a debate that featured sharp differences over health care, college tuition funding, and efforts to rein in Wall Street.
I believe that we can get back on the right track, that I want to imagine a country where people's wages reflect their hard work, where we have health care for everyone and where every child gets to live up to his or her potential. I'm fighting for people who cannot wait for those changes, and I'm not making promises that I cannot keep.
The Affordable Care Act has clearly, as Secretary Clinton made the point, done a lot of good things. But what it has not done is dealt with the fact that we have 29 million people today who have zero health insurance. We have even more who are underinsured with large deductibles and co-payments, and prescription drug prices are off the wall. So I do believe that in the future, not by dismantling what we have here, I helped write that bill, but by moving forward, rallying the American people, I do believe we should have health care for all. And one of the things we should do is not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. I am very proud to be the only candidate up here who does not have a super PAC, who is not raising huge sums of money from Wall Street or special interests. I am enormously proud. Never believed it would happen that we have raised $3.5 million individual contributions averaging $27 apiece. That is what the political revolution means.
Anybody who ever took donations or speaking fees from any interest group has to be bought. And I just absolutely reject that, Senator. And I really don't think these kinds of attacks by insinuation are worthy of you. And enough is enough. If you've got something to say, say it directly. But you will not find that I ever changed a view or a vote because of any donation that I ever received. And I have stood up and I have represented my constituents to the best of my ability, and I'm very proud of that. So I think it's time to end the very artful smear that you and your campaign have been carrying out in recent weeks, and let's talk about the issues. Let's talk about the issues that divide us.
On our worst days, I think it is fair to say we are 100 times better than any Republican candidate.
Florida Governor Rick Scott expanded a public health emergency over travel-related cases of the Zika virus to a 5th county in Florida. Scott announced he was adding Broward County to the list of counties in which he declared a public health emergency on Wednesday, which includes Miami-Dade in South Florida, Hillsborough in the Tampa Bay region. Now, Lee County in Southwest Florida and Santa Rosa, one in the Florida Panhandle, also said there were 9 cases of Zika confirmed in Florida.
To declare a public health emergency in 4 counties that have the Zika virus. Yesterday we had 9 cases. The counties were Hillsborough, Miami-Dade, Lee, and Santa Rosa. Today we find out we have a 5th county, Broward. And so we'll be amending the executive order so Surgeon General will declare a public health emergency and also in Broward County. So today Florida has 12 Zika cases. Now all of them are travel related. The way I think about it, we have to ensure, just like a hurricane, we have to ensure that Florida is safe. Just like in a hurricane, what we always say to ourselves is we're going to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And we're going to do everything we can to stay ahead of the Zika virus. On Monday, Dr. Armstrong and I had a call with the CDC on Zika, and here's what we know to date, primarily from the CDC. While all the cases in Florida are travel related, the mosquito that causes Zika virus is common in Florida. Zika has been identified in several counties in Central and South America, Mexico, and the Caribbean. We learned this week that there has been at least 1 incident of the virus being transmitted in the United States in Dallas, Texas. According to reports, pregnant women are most vulnerable to this virus. Children born to mothers who contracted this disease can develop severe birth defects.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. Prime Minister Tamam Salam expresses his satisfaction along with Prime Minister David Cameron with the results of the Donors Conference on Syria, revealing he has not yet been informed of Lebanon's share of the donations. The consultative gathering bloc urges Lebanon's lawmakers to attend the parliament session next week aimed at ending the vacuum at the presidential post. And Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton goes on the attack against rival Bernie Sanders in their most contentious presidential debate yet. Those are your Friday headlines live on Future Television. Catch us again tomorrow for all the latest, and have a very nice weekend. Take care.
لترشيح العماد ميشيل عون.
المعارضة السورية هي بتحدد من يمثلها.